also, if you may allow me to, I want to share with you just my quick snippet of my journey to being a psych major. Out of high school, I knew that I wanted to be or coming into college, I knew that I wanted to be a psych major because, I was interested in learning about people, personalities, and so forth. Very lucky, I had a really good high school education, but all my life, I was a B+ student, never a straight A student. Pretty good student when I put out the time and effort to get some A's, but at the same time, not the best student. Okay. However, as you'll find out that in any field, it's really about the time and effort that you put into to be successful. So, for example, I even share with students that I actually took public speaking twice to get over my fear of public speaking. Okay. I attended the University of San Diego for my first 3 years as a psych major, transferred into UCI in psychological science. Back then, it was used to be known as psych and social behavior. And then I technically started my master's in psychology at Cal State Fullerton, but I decided not to attend that program. Even though I started taking some classes, I ended up at Long Beach, and I found a counseling program that emphasized higher ed counseling as well as higher management. So that's kind of my overall quick journey for myself. Now, as you continue on your higher education or your education journey, okay, it's going to get always a little bit harder. College is a little bit harder. Then once you transfer, it will be a lot of upper division courses, and it's going to be a little bit harder. And then graduate school, they're going to pound you with so much reading and so forth, and also in your doctorate programs, if it's those are looking at PhDs or PsyDs, that you will never be able to read everything. Okay, but with that, yes, it's challenging, and sometimes it's definitely risk-taking. For some of you, maybe moving out, okay, and not just going to a local Cal State or UC, but maybe UCI, UCLA, out of state, and so forth. But as you continue on your journey, you're going to discover more, okay? Not just your options, but opportunities and resources. And I always highly encourage our students to do that, to see what their options and opportunities are, so then they can maximize that. And then for me to be where I am today, it wasn't just because of my psych degree. Truly, it was student organizations, being a student leader myself, and also having a really good mentor in college. Towards the end of my college year, I just got really lucky with a mentor who helped me pave my way into the field of higher education and counseling specifically. All right. So for the bulk of my presentation, it will actually be on transferring to the Cal States and UCs as a psychology major. But throughout, I'll kind of throw you little tidbits here and there, whether it be my experience or things that I've seen through my time in helping support students go into various majors, but especially the counseling field as well as the psychology field, because given my background, it's very dear to my heart. There's the basics of transfer. So if you've ever taken a counseling class in a counselor, we always share with you, 60 transferable units, some of the core classes and so forth. The bottom line is, don't worry so much about the minimum, okay? You really want to understand what the selection criteria is. What makes you a competitive candidate? So for example, UCI for psychological science or psychology, yeah, you can look at TAG, which is guaranteed admissions to UCI. So we're really looking at least a 3.4. UCLA and Berkeley, I would say anything north of 3.6, okay, to give yourself a chance. But sometimes you maybe have to have a little bit higher GPA. Versus Cal State Fullerton, as long as you have 60 transferable units by the time you transfer, your English, math, critical thinking, and speech, and a pretty decent GPA. Anything above a 3.0 will get you in, because their cutoff has been around a 2.6 GPA. So every school varies a little bit, but the essential is 60 transferable units, the highest GPA that you can, because A's open up more doors, B's break even, you'll get into some good schools, C's close a lot of doors. Okay. However, even if you have some C's and your GPA, let's say, is only a 2.5, there are still some good programs available for you. But just make sure that you trend up, because later on, if you want to go to graduate school, even a terminal master's, we're really looking at minimum at least a 2.8 GPA overall that's been trending up. Because if your GPA is lower than that, there could be a program that could take you, but they tend to be much, much more costlier. And here's a little secret. If you want a terminal master's, just a master's degree in counseling and psychology, and you don't really see yourself going on right away. Now, maybe way down the line, Cal State's is the best bang for your buck. UCI psychology. Then I decided I just want to do a master's. If I ever pursue the graduate PhD or EDD down the line, I'll deal with that later. So at Cal State, the cost is only what, $7,000 per year times 2 or 3 years. So you're really looking at under $15,000, 15 to 20,000 if it's 2 or 3 year program. Most programs are 2 years for psychology for masters. You're getting it for under $15,000. Right, one program that you may hear about is called the Associate Degree for Transfer, known as the ADT. Okay, so that's something I'll definitely talk about. We also have the UC tags for transfer admissions guarantees to a number of the UCs. Unfortunately, there's a few UCs, the highly competitive ones, LA, Berkeley, and San Diego, they do not participate in that. We also have the UCLA TAP program for, it's not guaranteed admissions, but it gives you more priority consideration for UCLA if you do our honors program. We also have the honors to honors. So if you maintain a 3.7 GPA with us and do basically the 5 honors courses, sign the contract, okay, you also can get guaranteed admissions to UCI. And a lot of these programs, you actually can mix and match, meaning that you could do multiple programs. You could do both TAG for Santa Barbara, UCI honors to honors, and UCLA TAP to maximize all your chances for transfer for some of the more competitive schools. And then we do have a few private school tags for some of the local private schools where they may give you a little bit of a tuition discount for various majors, including psychology. All right, so let's start with let me see the tag. Again, only certain schools participate in it: Davis, Irvine, Merced, Riverside, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz. And for Santa Cruz, their mascot is the banana slug. So if you've ever seen it, you ever get a chance to go check out UC Santa Cruz, when you walk around that campus, there's all these little yellow snails around the campus. That's why that's their mascot. I had to share with you that little tidbit. Each school has their own different requirements for admissions and also for tag. But the bottom line is some of the schools that are really popular, both Santa Barbara and Irvine, we're looking at about a 3.4 GPA, at a 3.4 GPA. The schools that aren't are a little bit further away or not as many students apply to, okay? For example, Riverside and Santa Cruz, we're looking at around a 3.0-ish GPA for some of the social sciences. Psychology for Riverside, it might be 3.2. I can't remember on top of my head, but I know Santa Cruz, 3.0 GPA. So basically, you'll be applying, if you're looking at tagging to these schools, okay, you submit a tag application now in fall of 22 for fall of 2023. So you both have to tag that school. You also have to apply to that school in that exact same major, and then follow through with all the other processes of transfer. So let's say that you're a psychology major at this moment. Okay, you have, give or take, about 30 transferable units. That's UC transferable at the end of the summer, and you have a 3.4 GPA. Then you apply to UCI. Oh, excuse me. You could tag UCI, okay, in psychological science, for example. Then in October, November, when you're ready to submit your application, okay, you'll then put that exact same major. And also the process for the tag is this. I always tell students, here's the process: TAP, tag, then application. TAP is the UC planner. Tag is the guarantee admissions. Okay, that really only takes 5 minutes to do because everything is based on the transfer planner. Then when you do the application, on the one of the sections, I think the 3rd section, okay, they'll ask you, do you have a TAP account? You'll click yes. You put your credentials for your TAP account, and all your coursework from your TAP account goes into your UC application. So a 1/3 of your UC application is done. Okay, so TAP first, planner, tag second in September, and then application in October or November. There's the TAP website. Let me see if I can get into there. Right, so create the TAP account. And then you can always type in UC tag It has the tag information here, the basics. And then if you want to, you can even click each school's individually for tag. UC Irvine. This one, I think they gave you the wrong bad link. You type in UC Santa Barbara. It breaks down the tag overview, the tag requirements, the GPA, when you have your English and math by, when you have to apply, the units, and so forth. And some majors like bioeconomics, maths, physics may have additional requirements, as an example. Let me also look up UC Riverside real quick, just as an example. Riverside. Psychology is 3.3. Okay, so I knew it was above a 3.0, but for guaranteed admissions to UC Riverside for psychology is 3.3. All right, let me go back now to my presentation. Okay. And then also there's a matrix too that gives an overview of that. So on that website that I showed you, you could pull that information up. So really the tag is really for the UCs. For the ADT, which is getting an AAT for psychology, as well as some other AATs or ASTs. Okay, what it really does is it guarantees students to one Cal State, but technically not the Cal State of your choice. So here's the reality. It really just gives you an extra 0.1 GPA bump for a lot of the local schools. So for example, if Cal State Fullerton, the cutoff is a 2.8, and you only have a 2.7 GPA, it gives you an extra 0.1, okay? Or for schools like San Diego State, Long Beach, it gives you a little bit more priority consideration points. So then it maximizes your chances of getting in. But it's not a guarantee to the impacted Cal States. And then to get one of these degrees, it's actually not that hard. For the most part, if you're planning for transfer as a psychology major, if I may, I am going to pull up the IVC catalog. Click degrees programs. Go down to psychology. There's the AA in psychology and AAT in psychology. To obtain this degree, you just have to do Psych 1, Psych 2, a stats course, but probably Psych 10, Psych 3, and one from here, 6, 7, 30, or Psych 30 or Social 30, and then one from here. Okay. If you have all your G classes done, plus these core courses for the AAT and psychology, that by the time you finish, you definitely can apply for it. And then we typically recommend students to apply for these degrees right while they are beginning to apply for the Cal States and UCs. So in October, November, so really the deadline is October 15th to February 1st, if you're looking at applying for fall 2023 admissions. So right after you apply, you should be jumping in on the various degrees that you qualify for, okay? And also for your G certification. On top of that, some of you may qualify for additional degrees. So a lot of you, given by virtue of being a psych major and finishing up all your G classes, should be able to get an AA in liberal studies, okay? Because you've taken a number of G classes. And then the other one is the AA in social behavioral sciences. So potentially 2 additional degrees. Also, a few of you might also even get another psychology degree, even though technically they're practically the same thing. Minor nuances. There's the AA in psychology. And then you could double dip in classes. Psych 1, Psych 2, Psych 10. Practically almost the same thing. So you actually can apply for both AA psychology and AAT in psychology. Okay. In the end, it doesn't really do anything except it just looks nice on your resume. Okay. But if you qualify for it, might as well get it. Right, let me move on here. All right, so let's look at some of the popular schools that students definitely always look at, especially some of the UCs. About 60% of our UC transfers go to UCI because of proximity, and also they're an excellent school. Okay, so for UCI psychology, they used to have 3 different psych programs, but now they cut that down. It's 2 now. Okay, they used to have a BA in psychology, BS in psychology, and a BA in psychological science. The BA in psychological science, the old name for that one was psych and social behavior. So here's the bottom line. If it's the psychological science under the School of Social Ecology, this is going to be more your social and developmental psychology. So if you want to go more counseling-ish, more developmental social, you want the BA in psychology, and also it's a little bit less math. If you want more cognitive, brain, mind, okay, you would do the BS in psychology. So this one is actually pretty good for pre-med students, the BS in psychology. This one's more for the counseling students. But in the end of both psych programs, there'll be some overlap, but there will be some differences in the coursework. And also it's a different framework too that the School of Social Ecology is under. No right or wrong, both will have research, but I would say BS and Psych will have a little bit more research. But BA and Psych will still have research. And for me, many years ago, when I was a transfer student myself from San Diego into UCI, I was caught in this exact dilemma. I didn't know. I applied in the regular psychology, BA in psychology back then. That was more cognitive. And then when I opened up the catalog, I started reading it. Wait, hold on there. They have these 2 different ones, 3 different ones. No, this one sounds much more like what I'm interested in. Okay, so find out which one, because there will be little bit differences in the type of classes that you do. And then if there are some students who may just have a little bit lower GPA, let's say you only have a 3.2, there's a backdoor to psychology at UCI if you don't have that 3.4, 3.5, 3.6 GPA. It's called social ecology. So if I may, I'm actually going to show that to you really quick. So it's the School of Social Ecology. They have criminal law society, urban planning, social ecology, and psychological science. So social ecology allows you basically to take classes from all 4 areas. And you can even take the bulk from psychological science if you wanted to. And you also have chances to take classes in other areas. And here's the thing about psychology is that for a master's in counseling or psychology, you don't really have to be a psych major. Anyway, I think it's nice to be, because then you already have some content. But if you're off a little bit, okay, in a different area, and then still want to down the line pursue that, for example, let's say you go to Berkeley or UCLA, you could do a interdisciplinary studies type of major, where it could be half psychology and half a bunch of other things, and still down the line you pursue a doctorate in psychology or a master's in counseling or psychology. So that's UCI. I should really quickly mention Fullerton too. Fullerton does have kind of the same scenario. They have the BA in psychology and human services. So more counseling is human services, and a little bit more research would be their BA in psychology. Okay. There are also a ton of other programs. San Diego, UCLA, so it could be a combination of both psychology with other areas, cognitive behavioral neuroscience, psychobio. So a lot of this is really good, especially for psych majors looking at medical school, or if that's just your interest, if you're more of a cognitive behavioral brain person for psychology, then you could always do that and then continue on for pursue a doctorate in that field area too. There's also concentrations, for the folks who are interested in business. There's Psychology IO with emphasis in business and organizations and leadership. There's developmental psych, experimental psych. So a lot of these schools have, various things, and even social work too, even though that is, going to have a lot more courses specifically in social work, but they're going to go through the DSMB 5 now, actually. It was 4 revised, now 5. It might be 6. I've been a little bit out of touch. Okay. Oh, here's the difference too that I should share with you. For those who are looking at master's programs, okay? So think about it as a kind of continuum. There's counseling programs, and then there's psych programs. So the counseling programs, you're actually going to be working more with regular people with life issues. Psychology programs will deal more so with mental disorders, and diagnosis, more so in that end of it. Okay. So there's no right or wrong. You have to find out what's best for you. And as a psych major who's going to continue on in the future, you really have to ask yourself this question, especially if you're looking at more counseling or clinical. What's my target population? Right? Where do I see myself working in what community and what groups? If my target population is family, okay, it could be now a master's in psych, okay, and with child development emphasis, child development, or a doctorate in child development, child therapies, and so forth. Or it could be a marriage family therapist, okay, or social work with, and then definitely taking and then picking a job within social work that works with children. For me, I found out that I wanted to pursue education and counseling. So I was able to find a specific program. So even though I did get into, after I graduated from UCI, considered teaching for a while, and some other opportunities, but then I said, I really want to continue on with my psych. At the time, first generation immigrant student, beyond becoming a counselor or a psychologist, I didn't know anything else. At 23, okay, which is very typical for first generation students, no guidance at all. So therefore, when I started out, I then applied for my master's in psychology program, but I got really fortunate because I also wanted to work in higher education, that I got a job in outreach at another community college, Santiago. And then I really started doing my homework. I read through different options and, for master's programs, for local and out of state and so forth. So one place I started with is Amazon. This book right here. Same book that now they've revised it multiple times. But I read on the different models, some are much more clinical, counseling hands-on, others are much more research. So I learned about all the various master's and doctor program, and that kind of gave me a better clue. Okay. And even with that, I initially applied for, like I said, Fullerton, because I didn't have the grades. My overall GPA was literally a 3.0 GPA. Okay. But I wouldn't have changed my 3.0 for the world. I had a great time in college. I was a student leader. I was on academic probation for a semester. It was 2.7, 3.0, 3.5, at my old school. Then I went to UCI, a really rough start because it was a quarter system. Did better in my second, became a student leader, was on academic probation that one semester under 2.0 because I failed a class, okay? Then I had to really bump it in my last year, 3.3 and 3.5 just to get to 3.0. So it happens, life happens, okay? But as long as you continue on your pathway and see what your options are. With that, I took 2 classes at Cal State Fullerton. Got into their psych program, then officially got in. All I had to do was check the check mark. But I said, no, this isn't what I want. I really want to become a high school or college counselor and be involved in education or higher education. So then I started digging, and I found, luckily, CSU-LB College of Education. And there's tons of these programs, okay? But you're gonna have to start doing the homework. You don't have to do it right now, But the earlier you do it, then you'll find out what options and opportunities that you have. I know I'm kind of leading into a little bit in a topic that you're going to go cover the next meeting, but I just needed to show you this really quick, just for you to know you have so many options. Academic program, master's, right there. So just at Long Beach, they have MSW for social work. They have IO psychology master's. Then just under there, the College of Education. These are more for principals, educational technology, marriage family therapists, counseling psychology, schools counseling, school psychology, social cultural analysis of education, and then the program I did was student development and higher ed. So most of these are 2-year programs, but I decided to do a 3-year program that was half higher ed counseling, counseling basically, and then student affairs. Okay, so then look at these options for terminal masters. Look at PhD programs and ED programs. PhD tends to be more research oriented, and then ED tends to be more hands-on. Okay, counseling types of programs. I do have a few other ordinances to share, but before I do, let me ask the group right now. Any questions on transfer, or if you like to, I can even break down, some of the specific schools that you're really interested in, and I can kind of give you my thoughts and insights into UCLA, Berkeley, USC, psych programs, and so forth. So let me open up the floor to all of you.
Hi, I have a question. It might be a bit of a silly one, but I was wondering that if you go through like the tag system, are you still able to get like scholarships through it?
The scholarships really is when you're applying, make sure that you submit for your FAFSA. Okay, that's kind of a given, right? Then in the UC application itself, there is the scholarship section. You'll read through that and you'll mark at least 16 areas that's of interest to you. They'll use part of that information for possible scholarships. So therefore, between that, as well as they'll look at your family income, they'll look at your 4 PIQs, the questions that you answer, okay? And then when they're packaging your financial aid together, they do that. They'll look at your family income, how much free money you're gonna give, okay? Then they'll look at your application and your essays, as well as what you mark down. If you're interested in psychology, helping people, and if there's a match, a need and a match, then they potentially can give you a little bit more money.
Okay, so just to clarify, you have to go through the FAFSA system in order to get a scholarship?
You don't have to, but the bottom line is this. If your family is low income, so that I'm going to assume that this is the student 23 and under. Okay, if you're 24 and over, it's just your income or your or your partner's income, basically. Okay, if your family's income is on the lower end, submit your FAFSA because there's a lot of free money in FAFSA. Right? So when I went to both UCI and University of San Diego, my family was on definitely on the low income side. I did not even pay a penny out of pocket. I didn't even need $1 of scholarships at all. Everything was already paid through the Cal Grant and Pell Grant and so forth. If your parents are in that $100 to $200,000, that's the worst place to be in, because your parents make a little bit too much where they're not going to give you much. Now, maybe 100, 120, they'll give you a couple $1,000s. But if your parents are making about $150,000 per year, then you're hoping that the university will at least kick in with a small university grant or scholarship. So for you, it's actually parents in the income level, definitely either go local to UCI or apply for both internal scholarships at IVC and also external scholarships, because you're going to have to take out quite a bit of student loans or a education at USC, UCLA, and Berkeley, and so forth.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Also, are there any other questions on anything I presented on any of the Cal State's UC psychology programs?
I think a lot of our, so sorry. I think a lot of our members are hoping to transfer to UCI. So I was wondering if you could give a little more detailed presentation of how transferring to UCI would look like.
Okay, no problem at all. So for UCI transfer admissions requirement, we actually look at both assist and also we look at the school's website. So if you're looking at psychological science, which is the more counseling one, 344 tag and major prep is actually not required. So Psych 1, Psych 3, Psych 2, none of it's technically required. Okay. However, we still highly recommend for you to take a lot of those psychology courses to get your, possibly your AAT in psychology, because then your first quarter at UCI, you don't have to do those core basic classes. But technically, major prep is not required. Okay. For psychological, the other psychology, BS in psychology. Where is that? Let's see. 344 tag, equivalent to Psych 9A and 9C with a grade of 2.0 or better, and complete at least 4 courses from Math 2A, 2B, Bio 8081, Chem. Okay, so basically it's broken down here. Once you have this information here, then you actually cross-reference it with assist.org. So the psychological science for UCI, pretty simple and straightforward. 3.4 for tag, even if you don't have all your classes for your major, you're still good. However, we still recommend for you to try to do as many of your major prep classes as possible for the psychological science. So let me just show that psychological science to finish it up. So our Psych 1 and 3 will equal UCI's 11A. 11B, you'll take it at UCI. 11C, if you take Psych 1 and Psych 30 or 37, you'll get credit for 11C. AJ2, Environmental 1, Psych 2, and Math 10. So ideally, you want to finish up all these for UCI, especially if it's your top school. And if you're not able to squeeze everything in, you could even do some of these classes in summer too. Because if you do that in summer and you have them all done, when you start at UCI, you're starting basically at upper division courses. You don't have to do any more lower division courses. Okay. Now for the other psychology, BS in psychology. Again, same information is broken down here. 9 out of 10 times the information is on assist. It breaks it down to you. Other times it may not be clear on assist, and that's why you have to cross-reference it with the school's website. In short, Psych 1 and Psych 3 equals their 9A. 9B, you'll do it at UCI. 9C is Psych 1 and Psych 30 or 37. So remember before it was 11, right? 11, 11, 11. But this is 9, so it's a different school. Math. Select four courses from the following: math, bio, or chem, and physics too. So in short, if you want to BS in psychology, you're going to have to do, probably the math and either the bio or the chem sequence. Okay, so you can see this was actually much better for the pre-med students, correct? However, if you're a pre-med and you want to do the other one, psychological science, you can still also do that too. You'll just have to do the required classes for pre-med, which is basically Math 3A, Bio 8081, Chem 1A, 1B, and Chem 12A, 12B. So that's the only difference there. And then the key thing about UCI is if you can get that 3.4 GPA and tag, that's your ticket in. Okay. If you have lower than that, you only have a 3.2, 3.3. I would probably recommend social ecology because with a 3.3, you might not get into psychological science or BA Psych. The reason why I know this is here's the data, and most of you have taken stats, so you know this. I'll leave this one in the chat because it's fun to look at some of the data sometimes. Give me 1 second, and it looks like I only have a few more minutes here, so let me just wrap this up. Just type in any school you want to, Irvine, and then ESY. Psychology, School of Social Science. That's really the BS in psych. 3.67 to 393. 25th percentile to 75th percentile. Yeah, so there will be some students with the 3.4, 3.5 will get in, but they're at the bottom of the bell-shaped curve. Okay, versus psychological science, 3.47, 3.86. But the percentage you're getting is actually pretty good, almost 80%. And this is data from fall of 2021. You can always backtrack. And you could also look at social ecology. .32, 3.25, so it's a little bit lower GPA. So you could do psychological science as your major, and then social ecology as your alternate too. Now, all the other UCs, it kind of varies. Some UCs like LA, it's going to be more not as math and science heavy. But Berkeley, San Diego, their psychology is going to be much more cognitive and math and science heavy. And then you really have to go through assist the school's website to double check and cross-check everything. Extracurriculars, I think it is important, especially the highly competitive schools. The Berkeley's, LA's, and San Diego's without, you got to have the grades, the required major preps, and some extracurriculars, because without that, it's going to be less to talk about in your essays. So not imperative, but it helps get you over the edge just in case if it's highly competitive. All right. With that, I think my time is pretty much up. But if there's any final thought or question, or if you need to or want to, feel free to connect with me. The only thing is I do have very limited appointments through the transfer center. But you could ask for me if you'd like to, or touch base with any of our transfer counselors. They're all very, very knowledgeable on the transfer process.
You actually do have 14 more minutes if you would like to give us more information about other schools.
Why don't I do the other two really popular schools? Okay, especially since I assume you guys are actually both psych and honor society too, right?
Yes, we're Honor Society of Psychology. Yeah.
Okay. So let me do UCLA and Berkeley.
Okay.
They have psychobio and regular psychology. Okay, so probably pre-med, I would probably do the psychobio if you're looking at just psychology, just the BA in psychology. Highly selective, strongly encouraged to complete as many major preps as possible by end of fall prior term. So don't even leave it to the spring of your final semester. They actually like to see grades in fall. Psych 1, bio, it doesn't really matter which step, but it looks like you these are ORs, my apologies. So 7A or 15. So you could do these other bios, or you can just do bio 1 and you're good to go, or bio 12 or bio 81. My gut tells me that unless you're pre-med, maybe do some of these, but if not, just do the bio 1 and you're good to go. Then between chem, physics, you got to do one of these courses. And then philosophy, you do need one philosophy course. Stats, and that's pretty much it. It's all these are ORs. So stats, or 37 or math 3A. And then also, if you like to, we do have two people you could probably talk to if you're UCLA's your top school. We have the regular UCLA representative, admissions representative. They're available for appointments. Let me see if I have their information. How can I pull that up? Give me 1 second here. if I can get you a direct link to it. IB school guidance. Let me put it in here for you. So here are some appointments available for some of the reps. Irvine, LA, Santa Barbara, I think UC San Diego just gave us their too. So if you'd like to meet with them virtually. We also have another new counsel we just brought in. Her name is Connie Wu. She used to be a former rep. Okay, and also is the Associate Director of Admissions for UCLA. So you could even chat with her if UCLA is on top of your list. So she's now a counselor with us. And so that is UCLA in a nutshell. And then if you want to see their numbers, again, go to UC Info Center. UCLA. Pre-site, okay, 383 to 40. So not to say that 37 won't get you in, but if it's a 37, make sure that everything that's required for your major and recommended required, you have them all. And you know, you have the leadership, you have all these other extra, your essays are really, really strong. So you still have a chance at UCLA with a little bit lower GPA. Okay. However, it has to be extra solid. Okay? Or even a 4.0. A 4.0 does not guarantee you into UCLA. Because if you only have a 4.0 and there's no extracurriculars of any sort at all, there is what else? And your essay, your PIQs, personal essays are not that good at all. And you don't even answer the very first question. You know, what have you done to prepare for your intended major well at all? I could see them denying a 4.0 student who did everything. Okay, because you know they have to select folks, and they mainly look at numbers, but that's not the end all be all. They do, the UCs do what's called comprehensive review. They look at everything. They look at you, except ethnicity. I don't think they really look at ethnicity. They really look at you, parents' education, family income, as just general context. Work, school, academics, classes, involvement, and in the end, it's, you know, what can you offer and bring to them? They have so many qualified candidates, and then the ones who could really show that, you know, they have much more to offer will have a better chance. Okay, let's do now Berkeley as the final school.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I have a quick question regarding the tag application. And
Yes.
I'm curious if I'm able to apply to multiple universities, or does tag limit it to just one option?
Okay, very good question. You're actually not limited at all to different schools. So what you could do is, for example, submit your tag for UCI and also then apply to UCI. You're still able to apply for UCLA, Berkeley, San Diego. So then let's say that you have that guarantee for UCI, you have that 3.7 GPA, okay? You have guaranteed admissions to UCI and everything looks really good there. Just maintain that overall 3.4. Then you can apply to other very highly selected schools. And then in the end, is, you know, you're gonna get multiple, well, at least for sure UCI. And then depending on how competitive you are with UCLA, Berkeley, Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara, and so forth, you will get potentially other offers. And then at that time, you get to choose. So the tag doesn't bind you to that school. Okay, does that answer it?
Thank you. Yeah.
For Berkeley, let's just look at psychology really quick. Generally, Berkeley says that not, as long as you have a 3.0, they'll look at you. Okay. However, number-wise, we're really looking at least north of 3.7 to be competitive. Unless you've had this amazing story, you know, Sometimes they will accept students with a little bit lower GPA. I've seen where a 3.3, 3.5 could got into some really competitive programs if they've overcome a lot of challenges. In short, do I get C for your GEs? Psych 1, either an anthro or a bio. Social science, 1 from, so it could be any of these. For 1 math, quantitative. More likely it's going to be the stats. Or it could be still math 3A also. Okay. Then read the fine print. By the end of spring term, either the College of Learned Sciences G pattern or I get C, just do the I get C. They're going to look at I get C, basically, strength of academic preparation and point average. So those are kind of their primary criteria. How have you prepared and what's your overall GPA? Psych, biological, social science, quantitative, okay? But these, honestly, just by doing this is basically the minimum. If you take the extra psychology classes, be a little bit involved in research, student leadership, those are the things that you need to do in order to maximize your chances. Because if it's just the basics on here, most of the time it won't cut it. Because as you know, you're competing against so many other students also that are very highly qualified, who will have that 3.9 and who will be involved and who will, who's gonna, especially the PIQs. Sometimes those PIQs, they're X factors. It could get a student with a little bit lower GPA into a program. The rule I know is I've helped a couple of students, and even for myself, I slid in my little sister. Okay. Long time back in Long Beach, I told her exactly what she needed to do to get back to Long Beach. Her overall GPA was literally a 2.65 from Cal State Long Beach. The program, higher ed program that I did, the average GPA was at 3.75. But she had direct experience starting to work in higher ed because I recommended her to start working in higher ed. She got letter recommendations from a counselor, from the dean, and from me, okay, which is kind of unusual, but I did that program, so I was qualified with my degree to do that. And the minimum GPA to get in was 2.75. She got a special condition. They interviewed her because she had such a great profile. She actually beat out students who are from UCLA and Berkeley and Irvine, who all had 3.5s and up. And the way she beat them was this. She had everything else. She had better communication skills. She had more direct experience, okay? And she was so much more personable. So yes, sometimes they have a little bit lower GPA and you have everything else. So in the end, it's actually going to be your communication skills, your writing skills that may even give you a chance. And that's why even for me, to this day, I still work on my communication skills. And I do Toastmasters, public speaking to basically get over my fear, because I used to have a fear of public speaking. But it doesn't sound like it now, does it? All right, I think that pretty much concludes it. If you have any questions, feel free to connect with me and even shoot me an email. But hopefully, I've given you a lot of good detailed information, some good food for thought.
You absolutely have. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Sina. Tuan, do you mind if I just ask for one more resource while we have you here? This UC Information Center that you shared with us, it's really great. I'm sure students are going to love to see the different things for UCs about GPAs that they need. Do we have a similar resource available for the Cal States?
Not really. Honestly, all that stuff is in my head. There's no place because all schools do it a little differently. But I'll give you the info.
Okay, great.
Cal State
Thank you.
Fullerton 2A cutoff for fall every single year. Spring, they use that to control for enrollment. So in short, 3.0, you're good to go for Fullerton. Long Beach, around 3.5-ish. It depends on how many students apply each year, but the cutoff has been around 3.5. So you got to do all the required and all the recommended with a 3.5. Cal Poly Pomona, in the last couple of years, actually bumped theirs up because there was too many applicants, 3.8 or 3.9 for psychology. Okay, so it's actually harder to get into some of the Cal States than the UCs, which is unfathomable 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Okay, And then some of the other Cal states, especially the non-impacted, 2.0s to 2.4s will get you in. San Diego is a crapshoot. You got to go do the ADT in psychology, and it's all based on space availability because they give priority consideration to their students down in San Diego. Another really good psych program is San Luis Obispo, SLO. Okay, so but to me, if I'm looking at counseling psychology, I personally feel like UCI psychological science is top in the nation, really. When I went there, 20 years ago, someone told me they were top 20 in the nation. It's like, okay. And then I went through that program and I can see why. Exceptional program. If you're looking at a local program, we got so lucky that behind, basically in our backyard, we have one of the top, basically, social developmental type of counseling programs that could basically prep you for pretty much anything.
I echo that sentiment, Tuan. That's actually what my bachelor's is in as well, except it was called psychology and social behavior back then.
Oh, second, PSB, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, so you and I, yeah, we did the same program. So PSB, now psychological science, yeah.
And I will say I graduated in 2016 and I still feel the exact same way Tuan is describing about the program. It's a fantastic program. I had the best experience there.
Yes, yes. And they will kick your butt in reviewing of articles for research. They made, literally our textbooks were not textbooks. They were just articles after articles that you had to read. You really had to break down. You remember those days, right?
I will say it prepared me for grad school so well, because when I started my master's program, we were just handed a stack of articles. They said, read these for your first day of school. And I had been doing that at UCI. So I felt very well prepared for what my master's education was like because of that program.
Yes, I went to Long Beach's program, and all the students who went through the UC, who went to a UC, the master program was actually pretty easy for them. The ones who went to the Cal States struggled a little bit because they didn't have as much of the preparation. They still did fine, but because of the preparation we did, the academic rigor and so forth. I'm a big proponent of, if you get into UC first, definitely go for it. All right.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here and giving us all this great information. Thank you so much for being here on behalf of all of Psi Beta. Take care. All right, I'm gonna share my screen again, because before we jump to the mental health segment, I want to introduce you guys to our new board members. We have Sam Warren as our mental health director and Noor Daleti as our research chair. So you guys should introduce yourselves to the members.
Hi, my name is Sam. I am a second-year student here at UCI, and not UCI, IVC. I would like to go to UCI. My birthday's in November. My hobbies are knitting and playing way too many RPGs, whether that's tabletop or live action, and reading. My psychological interests are social psychology, clinical psychology, research, and then the psychology of learning. I've taken interpsych, research methods, developmental psych, and stats. And then this year I'm in just now Psych 15A, social psych, and abnormal psych. That's me.
Hi, my name is Noor. I'm really fortunate to be this year's research chair, and I would also like to transfer to UCI. And some of my hobbies include gardening and going on walks, because after the pandemic, I think a lot of us have realized that being in nature is really refreshing and crucial to our mental health. And so similar to that, my psychological interests include clinical/abnormal psychology and social psychology, because I'd like to become a therapist and even potentially consider working with prison populations or children and older adults. And some psych classes that I've taken are Psych 1, Psych 2, Psych 10, Psych 37, and currently I'm taking developmental psych and Psych 15A. So I just want to remind everyone about our current research opportunity to become a member of Psi Beta's National Research Project. And I really encourage everyone to apply if you've taken Psych 2 already. And if you're currently taking Psych 2 and you're really interested in research, I still recommend you applying, because we can just talk to you individually and see what your journey is like and how that relates to being a part of our team right now. So I think that would be great. We're just looking for passionate research, 2 to 3 team members who would like to take advantage of the opportunity to work with Professor Redman and also collect data, write a research paper, and present at professional conferences, which are great skills to put on your resume and your CV. And it's also an opportunity to get published. So this is just a great opportunity to be more competitive for those transfer universities. And also it's great, even if you feel like you're already highly competitive for transfer, it's great for master's programs because you've already done research at an undergraduate level. And that clearly shows that you're a highly motivated individual, and, you know, programs will jump on you, and because you'll stand out from other students because you have that experience on your belt already. So we really encourage you to apply. You don't need to be perfect at research, because I certainly am not. I'm really looking forward to enhancing my skills as a researcher and also helping other students grow their skills as well. So apply, because you should really take advantage of the opportunity.
Yes, I highly recommend you you also apply if you're interested in research. This is, again, an amazing opportunity for you to become more competitive and really get involved in this community and learn more. All right, well, now I'm gonna let Sam, our mental health director, present their mental health segment, which is gonna be on stress. So Sam, you are now a co-host and you're able to share your screen. Go right ahead.
All right, well, let me figure this out.
You're okay.
It's big. Oh my goodness. Slideshow. Yes, from the beginning. Oh my goodness. All right. That did not work. Give me a second. I'm having technical difficulties.
You're okay. I think we all know that this happens on Zoom.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to get it real large, but let's talk about stress and what it is and how we deal with it, because exams are coming up and it's a thing that we might all be thinking about. So let me get my script, because I cannot do anything that is unscripted. Okay. So this is a picture of the physiological response of stress. So when you encounter a threat that your body and brain thinks that you can't deal with, there's a big whole chain reaction of systems that your brain and your endocrine become involved with. Your hypothalamus, which is up here in the brain, releases corticonephrine releasing factor into the pituitary gland. This then releases adrenocorticotropic hormone into the blood flow. This is going to increase your cortisol levels. It's going to make you do all sorts of like prep for whatever the threat is. You don't know what it is. Your brain cannot see except for what your senses are. So then the stress will activate your autonomic sympathetic nerves in the medulla of the adrenal gland to make you make more hormones to either run away or to stand and fight, or there's also the freeze response, which we don't talk about much, but sometimes the smart thing to do is stand there and do nothing. And this is a normal, healthy response. The main issue is that our bodies are responding to threats that they were, designed to respond to 10,000 years ago. And now, there's not a tiger trying to eat you. It's, a beeping happening. So what all this chemical and endocrine stuff does to your body is your heart rate goes up, your breathing gets faster, you decrease all blood flow to your digestive system because you don't want to be worrying about digesting your food if you're running away. Your liver will release stored glucose so that you have energy to do whatever it is that you're going to do. This Again, in the short term, this is extremely useful. In the long term, it's not. So as a modern day people, what we often want to do is figure out how on earth are we going to alleviate our stress? So I did a whole bunch of reading and I have found some fascinating things. So in a 2017 study performed by researchers in Germany, France, and Australia, it was found that measured, slow-paced breathing reduced the physiological signs of stress more than simply being in a passive, relaxed state. The generalizability of this study is a little bit iffy because it was performed specifically on adolescents with intellectual disabilities and it was a small sample size, but the results were very encouraging. In a 2006 study out of Sweden, researchers wanted to explore whether or not cognitive behavioral therapy or yoga was more effective at alleviating the physical and physiological effects of stress. Turns out both were found to have significant effects on reducing symptoms of stress, and neither was actually found to be more effective than the other. And I do want to mention that, like, saying go to therapy if you're stressed might seem a little bit trite, but there are a lot of different types of therapy out there. And so it is nice to have the data that cognitive behavioral therapy is particularly good at dealing with stress and anxiety. Then in a 2016 study from the University of Pennsylvania, researchers studied whether or not spending time with a therapy dog once a week or taking a class in mindfulness techniques, which were breathing exercises, meditation sessions, and stretching for an hour each week would reduce stress. They were again trying to figure out if one was better than the other. And what they found out was that both were about equally as effective. The control group, which did neither of these things, did not have these results. So these are some of the things that you can do, you know, hang out with your dog, maybe do some stretching. Mindfulness is really good. If you have ever had any cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the things that they do is they teach you lots of techniques. So, you know, maybe go back and use some of them, you know, remind yourself that you're okay. And then here are my references if anybody wants to look up these studies. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
How do I turn off my screen? Now I'm lost.
Well, I think you have to go back to Zoom and then it should let you stop sharing. There should be a button on the bottom saying you can stop sharing.
There we go.
There you go. There you go. You
Excellent.
did it. You did it. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the presentation on stress? No? All right, cool. All right. I'm gonna, oops, sorry. I don't know what I just did. I'm gonna share my screen again. I just did that. We are pretty much done. So I'm gonna let Ava do her thing.
Yeah, hello, it's me. So if you want to connect with us, there's several ways to do it. We have the Psi Beta IVC where we post updates on like what's going on, the meeting, what the meeting is going to be about. So that gets updated every week. So there's always something new there. You can also find us on the Psi Beta National Facebook page. And a lot of the community is actually set in Discord. And that's always really fun. It's active. There's always notification there. So that's actually the easiest way to reach us. But if you exhausted all those options and you still need to find a way to reach us, there's also the Canvas. And all of you today will receive an invite to the IVC Canvas show if you're not already part of it. And if you know someone who's interested in joining the Canvas show, you can send an email to Sana and she'll be able to add you to the course. And if you guys don't mind, I would love to take a screen cap of everyone, just, you know, for our Instagram page and things like that. And if you don't want your face on there, feel free to leave your camera off and I'll just edit you out, whichever you want. So,
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing so you can take the
yes.
screen
Make it
capture.
full
There you go.
screen. Oh, wait for everything to go off. Okay.
Are you gonna count down?
Yes, I will. So no one's like caught off guard or anything. Okay. So 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. That pretty much concludes today's meeting. We're going to be hanging out here. Hartrisha is going to be here also if you guys have questions about transferring. And yep, that's pretty much it. Thank you for being here today. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you for being here, Alina. All of you, thank you.
Yeah.
If you do have questions, you can stick around. We're going to stop recording right now.
Off the file.